What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now, Back to the Past. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to take a look back at Fall Guys in 2023, go over the story of this game, and talk about really the state of it in 2023, because this game has gone through a lot. And this game's story, I honestly feel, is extremely cool. And, we talk about games kind of all different generations and eras on the channel. Some I was around for and a part of, some I wasn't. This is one that from start to finish, I was a part of, and we'll see actually if we can ever get to the finish line of Fall Guys, if this game would ever stop, and we'll get there. This video goes on, but let's talk about the beginning. So this game came out back in August of 2020. I got it day one, and if you remember, it actually was a PlayStation Plus game. Now this has happened a few times with these kind of like global phenomenons. I think Fall Guys is one of them. I think Rocket League, and we've seen the staying power of Rocket League over time. Both of those games started as a PS Plus game. In Rocket League, I also jumped in day one because it was on PlayStation Plus and put in hundreds of hours of my life into that game. So Fall Guys comes out August of 2020, and it is immediately a smash hit. It is not only doing really well on PS Plus, I believe it's the most downloaded PS Plus game of all time. So that immediately, you would imagine, gets several millions of people, but also sold well on Steam. It hit 1 million, hit 2 million sales rather quickly over there, and the game was enormous. And another thing you got to remember about this time is this was kind of that Among Us phase, and I think Fall Guys was the one to actually kind of blow up right before Among Us. I think it was that fall that Among Us started to really take shape and started to really become something. Fall Guys, I believe, kind of did it first. And the interesting story with Fall Guys, of course, is it kind of fell off. Now, I had played it. I played multiple seasons of this game, and I stopped for a long time, several times. I'd kind of come in and out of the game after maybe the first 4 or 5 months of playing it very consistently. And if you look at least on the Steam database, that seems to be reflective of people. This game blew up in that August. It had a lot of people playing it all at the same time. It had Twitch stats that were like through the roof. There were like 773 something thousand people watching Fall Guys live streams in that kind of mid-August period. So that is really the height of this game. But you go about like a month or two later. That's and we'll talk about what makes Fall Guys, I think, special, because I do think it's actually an incredibly good game that's gotten, I would say, probably worse as time has gone on. But this game exploded, and it died, I would say, relatively fast. Now, died is all subjective. I think died, I use it in the sense that when you have more than 500,000 people, and then, a couple months later, you have like 10,000, that to me would be dying. Now, can a game survive off of like 10,000 people playing it daily? Now, that's on Steam, right? You imagine on console it was even more, but it was only on PlayStation at first, and it took a while for this thing to get on next-gen consoles. It took a while for this thing to get on the Switch, which I assume probably helped it. It took it a while to get on the Xbox platforms, and really it was because of that transferring to Epic, right? When Epic became their publisher, this game was able to kind of spread out, and you imagine get a lot more people. Now, they did say that once they kind of made the change, and once the game ended up on more than just PlayStation and PC, the game reached, they said, over 50 million players. And the thing is, the game has never, I think, had player base playing it all at the same time like it did back in August. So maybe people kind of come in and come out now. Also, the game is free to play, right? So originally, you had to buy it on Steam, and then on PlayStation, you had PlayStation Plus, or you bought it. I think it was only, 20, 30 bucks, whatever the price was. You did have to pay. Nowadays, free to play. And again, that comes with its pros and cons. It's never, I think, captured what that August 2020 was. But you imagine there are people that come in, leave, and there's probably millions of people, honestly, across not just Steam and PlayStation, but the Switch. You imagine several millions of people on the Switch, I'm sure, have dabbled in it and then just left, right? Is that does seem like what's happened with this game. So then the game itself, I think this game is incredibly clever. I think this game is incredibly fun. The thing that ticks me off almost with this game is I think it was honestly really perfect at the time it released. I think Jeff Keighley or someone, it was announced at that E3 of that year, and then it came out like 2 months later. And I remember the talk of it leading into it coming out is, this is like the feel-good party game that we need. Among Us, I believe, did that. And remember, Among Us was actually alive for a long time before it. Among Us literally just came out of nowhere, even though the game existed, and they just blew up. Fall Guys, like, released, became a thing immediately, and then kind of died off. So two kind of different stories, and maybe we can talk about Among Us if you guys want me to. Let me know in the comments. But I remember that was the talk about it. Like, this is going to be this feel good, and when people got, like, early access or, you know, previews or reviews or whatever, there was a lot of positivity, and the game came out. I think the game was excellent. There was a few different rounds. I think like the egg one that really ticked me off. I really could never win at it, but I won crowns. I think I'm actually, even still to this day, pretty darn good at this. I can get to the finals relatively often. I've won, oh God, probably like 30, 40 crowns like lifetime. Like, I think I'm pretty darn good. Back then, I feel like I did most of my crown winning, I'd say, towards the beginning, and then even like more so now, and then all those middle times where I'd kind of leave and come back. I don't really think I was all that good, but I thought the game was a blast. The game was fun to play. So many levels were enjoyable and different from each other. The thing is that, you know, that was the beginning. I want to talk about kind of where we're at now and where this game has gone with the eras, well, seasons, right? So because of free to play, because of the need to make money, and I do understand this, okay? I know you need to make money, but because of these things, this game I do think has shifted dramatically. Now, in a lot of ways, it didn't really matter what, you know, the changes that happened. It didn't really affect it. It didn't really, I'd say, hurt the quality of it, in my opinion. Some of those early seasons, I think the levels are extremely good. And there's some levels when they did like the winter. I don't know if that was the very first season that they did, but they had like that winter update. There's still some of those levels that get played to this day. I think they're classics, even though they're not like originals, right? The original levels, actually very few of them feel like they're in rotation now. And those were always my favorites. Some of those very early Fall Guys levels, maybe like two of them are kind of played nowadays, and it's like, man, you've replaced them, right, with like newer stuff. And I don't think the newer stuff is as good, to be flat out honest with you. But for the most part, at least early on, the seasons were very, very solid. Obviously, you also had the customization, so I don't think they planned for this game to blow up as much as it did. I mean, the team had like 30 people working on this game, and again, it became like a smash hit. So when you have all these IPs, and you have PlayStation, you have Xbox, but even outside of that, like you have like these SpongeBob things and Hello Kitty and all this stuff, like they've made partnerships with everybody. It's really, in a way, it's probably smaller for sure, but it's kind of like Fortnite, right? All the partnerships and relationships that Fortnite has done to get these characters in, Fall Guys has kind of done the same. Smaller scale, I don't think as many, and definitely not as big, but they've done really, really well. So you had all of that happening. I think the customization in this game is really cool. It's fun to change your character, look at what other people have done, and go in and try to dominate in that way. But now we get to kind of where we're at now. So over the last couple months, I know you guys are seeing this in July. I'm actually recording it much earlier. So I'm talking like April, May. April, May had some things here and there, but generally it was rather dead, you know, and I played Fall Guys quite a bit. I went back to play Rocket League. I've played quite a few different games, and for me, going back into Fall Guys, I still enjoy it. In fact, I think I won like 2 crowns in my return, in my grand return to Fall Guys, but the game is just not the same, and there's a couple different things. Number one, well, I mentioned earlier, the levels. So, you know, I started playing it when they did those creator levels where now you can make levels and kind of upload them. And I think that's very, very smart. I think that could give the game kind of like this second, you know, wave. At the same time, now again, we don't know what the PlayStation base is or Xbox or Switch. You go to the Steam database, there is no sign that this thing is picking up. It picked up, I believe, when it went free to play. And it picked up when I think it went to the other consoles like Xbox and Switch. I think June of 2022. So it's been a year. Now, since June of 2022, this game has been straight into the ground. And I think in June 2022, it reached like 50K. It went back up. So remember, it had hundreds of thousands in the beginning, drops to, you know, the 10, 15, 20, 25,000 region, but slowly drops. Then when you get to June of 2022, it jumps up to like 50. But then by the time you get to like July or August, it is back down into like the 15, 10 range. And now you get like 3,000 to 4,000 people a day. 3,000 to 4,000, and there's really no sign of it picking it up. And now I'm recording this the last day of May, and we're in the update, right? We're in the new season. So it's only on one thing. I understand that. And, all these other platforms have so many millions of people. Switch, right, has so many millions of copies. I'm sure there's people keeping it alive just on the Nintendo Switch. But I do think it's, and even playing the game, not every game is full. There's 40 people per match. And I'd say it's probably 50-50. Sometimes you'll get like 36, sometimes you'll get 40, sometimes you'll get 32. Sometimes you will not get a full group of people. It's hard to find people that I have seen in my time, in again, my return to this game. And again, some of the newer levels I just don't think are as good. I think some of the created levels it's a clever feature. I think it may help the game, even though it doesn't look like it is, but those are replacing some of the all-time greats of this game. Here's where I want to go to. And I know, obviously we're walking through this story and we're 12 minutes in. I haven't gotten to what I really wanted to say. When this game came out, it had something just incredibly special. It really was that feel-good game. It really did have that kind of uplifting kind of feel because it's this wipeout. You're doing all these different kind of mini games to see who survives it and makes it to the end. It's a formula that's been done in is it reality television, or at least it's television in general, right? It's something that has been done and it's been kind of proven to be popular, and now we're doing it. I'm sure there's been games that have done it before, but Fall Guys, for whatever reason, just absolutely clicked. I think it was, again, the creative levels and maybe even just coming out kind of at the right time. The thing is, what do you do when you have something like that? Because you got to keep it going. And so when you keep it going, well, you add skins, you add these collaborations, you add new levels. And, are these things going to keep it going, or is it going to kind of dilute what made it so special? Now, for Fall Guys, I do think over time, it has hurt it. I don't think this is the special game that it once was. I also think a lot of the magic is gone. And one specific thing I can point to with this magic, and I've kind of whined about this to some of my friends because it's it gets me a little upset because it's this, you see this happen for so many games. So what is it? Okay, well, when you go into the game, it's the main menu. It's the menu of this game. It is so full and just kind of bad to look at. It looks kind of disgusting, to be honest with you. This is what sometimes happens with the free-to-play nature and transforming a game. This game was not this complicated. There are multiple currencies now. There's multiple levels. There's all of these different menus and screens and pop-ups and all notifications and all of this stuff. And if you remember, it's not even that long. It was 3 years ago. 3 years ago in August. It was never like that. It was more simplified. Now, again, it's a circle, right? You can kind of go back to the beginning or what you just said. Can you, when you have something that's special back in August of 2020, can you keep it like that forever and expect it to survive? Especially when it's a game that needs to last a long time. Fall Guys doesn't work as a game that comes out and lasts 2 weeks. It's not a single-player game that takes 10 hours to beat. It's not like that. It needs to last a long time. So what do you do with it? Well, I don't think you add all, and I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I'm sure I'll be showing you guys this stuff as I'm talking about it. The menu is bad to look at. I just think there's too much going on. And it's not so much I look at it and my eyes bleed or I want to die or, things like that. It's more when I look at it, that kind of encapsulates everything that's gone wrong for this game. Too much. There's too much. There's these levels and your crown level and these rankings and all the different currencies that you get. That is annoying, but once you get into the game, that's kind of put behind you. You're not penalized in any way. They're not getting you speed attributes. You're not skinnier. You can fit in things that you otherwise couldn't. It's not helping you in the game. And so once you pass it, it's okay. But it kind of is just an appetizer for the game itself to say, oh yeah, too much. Some of the old classic levels were the best it was ever going to be. And of course, you try to outdo yourself. You try to one-up you. But again, sometimes everything just kind of works exactly when it's supposed to, or in this case, right at the beginning. Some of those final levels, the championship levels, some of them, they're classics for a reason. And those were the first ones they ever made. Now, maybe not in prototyping and developing. Maybe they threw some out. But in what they gave us, they're so good. And I don't think they've necessarily gotten better. I think the earlier seasons stayed at a very good quality. I think some changed up the game a little bit. And I think some of the later ones are fun. Like they would fit in the spirit and I would say in the quality level of the earlier ones. But I don't know if I would say like any of these newer seasons are massively better. I don't think they've given it that huge breath of life that it probably needs right now. So talking about it is almost sad because, as I said in the beginning of the video, some of these games, like, I'm not around for, right? Like, I kind of come in later, like, to talk about the Yakuza games. I've made some videos on that. I've played these games years after they released, so I'm kind of, like, playing catch-up. For Fall Guys, like, I saw everything. And, I mean, it's not hard if you were around literally 3 years ago. You don't have to be that old or that young. It's okay if you did that. You could see it all, right? You see the game getting close. When it was announced, when it was released, this huge phenomena, and then it kind of patters down, it kind of falls apart, and then it kind of gets brought back to life with spreading it out, basically, and then it kind of dies again. And, does it deserve to die? Well, no, to be honest, if Fall Guys ever, like, ended, I'd be extremely sad. But at the same time, no, I don't want, like, half-empty lobbies and take forever to like find a match, right? Like, so it's a balance. I don't want that. So in which case, I guess you kind of have to shut it down. But if you told me, like, say next June, you said, well, Alex, there's a news story that, for its 4-year anniversary, they're shutting it down. I think a world without Fall Guys actually is kind of depressing. Actually would make me feel sad because it is a game I will go back to sometimes when I'm in like a lull and there's no single player games out and I want to do a multiplayer. I go to Rocket League. I go to Fall Guys. I'll probably end up going to Texas Chainsaw. I mean, very different kinds of games for sure, but some of these games just kind of attract me and have these kind of evergreen feelings where you could always go back and kind of play it. It's not a bad game, like, by any means. It's definitely fallen from where it once was, and it fell very quickly. Again, unlike Among Us, I felt like lasted a bit longer. Again, neither of them lasted super, super long. Fall Guys was maybe like a month, month and a half. Among Us was maybe 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months. Like, they weren't these massive things forever. In fact, they didn't even do it for half a year, which is kind of crazy, like, when you think about it, because you can remember just how big both of these games, huge. Twitch, I remember YouTubers, like all this stuff, were playing Fall Guys. And it was the race to the crown and 24-hour streams and trying to go for the platinum where you need to get 5 crowns in a row. Like, that's impossible, and people have done it, right? So it's like it had such like a feel to it and really hard to replicate and really hard, I would say, to do it at launch. Like, this game came out and just did it, and then it didn't really last all that long, but when it had it, it was an absolute blast, and it still is. I think this game is a blast still. It's just lost some of the quality. And again, when I'm playing it, literally like level to level, the thing that does tick me off is like, okay, a lot of these classic levels that are extremely good, a lot of them are just gone. And I don't know if they're still in rotation, but I've played, like, leading into this video, but I'll just play, casually. I've probably put, like, in the month of May, let's say, I've probably played like 15 or so hours of this game. And it's like, some of the levels I have not seen. So is it in rotation? Did they literally take it out? Like, I don't know. I don't read their patch notes. I don't know if they've ever said anything, but I feel like some of those, maybe half of those earlier levels, did they just remove them entirely? Because I have not seen them. It's more like new stuff, which I get, but at the same time, they're not as good. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. I do a new video every single week on this channel, and I hope to see you all on the next one.